The Notre Dame Fighting Irish and Marcus Freeman look like they've got their guy to be their next DC. Chris Ash bounced around a little bit in the NFL, was previously the head coach at Rutgers, was also the co-DC on Ohio State staff when they won the national championship in 2014. Is set to be the next guy in South Bend to call the defense. What do we think about this? Because I think this hire is not without some pushback from the good folks in Fighting Irish territory. How does this fit? What do we think about this in relation to Marcus Freeman? We'll talk about all that right now. But if you are new to the channel, if you're a college football sicko, if you love Notre Dame, if you love college football, this is college football year-round, all right? So we appreciate you being locked in, appreciate you being subscribed to the channel. So let's start here. I understand the pushback if you're a Notre Dame fan. I do. Because I, much like you, thought this was a cut and dry, Mike Mickens, you're the next guy as our DC hire after Al Golden left for the NFL. So I feel that. However, from what we can gather and from what we can tell from what Marcus Freeman has essentially said is they wanted to go with a more experienced DC move. So this fits. Would it have been nice to kind of keep the formula simple and similar to what you had previously? Yes. But again, if you're going with the experienced DC hire, Chris Ash checks that box. I also understand the pushback around the Chris Ash hire of, well, JD hasn't been in college since 2019 when it comes to coaching in the college game. He's been fired a few times at his previous jobs. What I'll say to that is I don't think that being in the NFL should disqualify you from coaching in college football. If anything, I think maybe there's some things he can bring to Notre Dame's defense coming from the NFL. The other part of this is if you're worried about him being fired, I get that. But if you're a coach, period, it's a matter of time before you get fired a few different times. So I'm not excusing it. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think it's anything to be all that worried about. My thought around this hire, to be honest with you, is very similar to how I feel about taking recommendations from our producer, Cato, on different culinary experiences. When we were in Atlanta for the national title game, Cato's dishing out recs left and right of some phenomenal spots. Now, it was harder to get into those spots, but you check out the menu, check out the vibe, check out what the food was going to be. It was going to be awesome, dude. So last night, video team goes to dinner. We say, Cato, we trust you to pick a spot. Why? Because he's earned the right to be trusted because of the previous recommendations. Marcus Freeman, same deal. He has earned the right to be trusted. Look at his previous hires. Gerard Parker, when he got hired as the guy, he got promoted to be the OC in 2023. Everyone's like, I don't know, I'm not sure. That season, Notre Dame averaged 39 points a game. Top 10 in college football. Check. He then takes a head coaching job at Troy. Who do you go hire? Mike Denbrock. Knock out of the park. Playing for a national title this past year. Also put that same kind of logic to who he's grabbed out of the transfer portal at the quarterback position. They grabbed Sam Hartman that year where they scored 39 points a game. You got to have a new quarterback after Hartman leaves. You go to your depth chart. No, you go back to the portal. Grab a Riley Leonard. Takes you to the national championship game. So you see this pattern I'm communicating here. Marcus Freeman, whether you love Chris Ash in a vacuum or not, Marcus Freeman in his own right, when it comes to hires, has earned the right to be trusted when it comes to how he puts together his staff. That's the first part. The other part of this is who co-signs you in life and in college football is very telling to me. If you're good with Urban Meyer, you're good with me. Urban Meyer's coached football for a long time, 17 years, in fact, 3 national titles. I don't think he's just co-signing anybody. He's also had a lot of coaches under his wing, if you will, or under his staff. And for him to be the co-DC when they won the whole darn thing at Ohio State when he was there, I don't think that's nothing. I think there's something to that. At the end of the day, Notre Dame's still, I believe, going to be a personnel-driven operation. There's going to be a lot of discussion over the course of the next few months going into the season of what's the scheme look like relative to what Al Golden's scheme was like. Al Golden applied a lot of pressure. They blitzed as much as anybody else in the country, but they also, to reiterate this point for the millionth time on this show, they played a lot of man coverage. And do you lose some guys on the back end? Sure, there's no Xavier Watts. There's no Ben Morrison. But there is a Leonard Moore. There is still a Drake Bowe in the middle of that defense playing linebacker for it. There's still a lot of dudes here on Notre Dame's defensive side of the ball to where I have a good amount of confidence in Chris Ash being able to make that work pretty well. At the end of the day, dude, football is a Jimmy's and Joe's game. Scheme has a lot to do with it, but at the end of the day, it is about the talent you have, and that usually makes the biggest difference when it comes to wins and losses and success in the box score. Defensively, that is. Last thing I'll say, if you had confidence in the OC hires for Marcus Freeman, maybe even in retrospect, if you feel like, hey, those were good hires for Marcus Freeman on the offensive side of the ball, you can have a lot more confidence in who he hires on the defensive side of the ball. Why? because that's the side of the ball now that Marcus Freeman comes from. Both as a player and as a coach, that's where he cut his teeth. This wasn't a hire that he just flippantly made because someone told him, oh, hey, Urban Meyer co-signs that guy. It was like, no, like Marcus Freeman has very much so, like I said, majored in that side of the football. I think that side of the football is extremely important to him. I don't know if he would tell you that, but if he gave you some truth serum, I think he'd probably say that's the side of the ball that he would qualify as his baby. Marcus Freeman knows what he's looking at. So this is not just like we'll pick the next name from the Urban Meyer tree. Like this was the defensive side of the ball is important to me. I like what this guy brings to the table. I like his experience. Let's roll. And even if things don't go perfectly at Notre Dame under Chris Ash, feel confidence if you're a Notre Dame fan that there is some very capable hands at the head coaching spot to help kind of guide this thing where it needs to go. So again, if you don't love the hire on the front end, I hear all the pushback. I get it. I think the Mike Mickens part of this conversation becomes interesting now going forward, but Marcus Freeman has earned the right to have his hires trusted on the offensive side for sure, but even more so from what I can gather on the defensive side, and Notre Dame's still got real good players to make sure that defensive side doesn't have a fall off in 2025. Keep it locked right here. Want to hear from y'all on the comment section, on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, at Jody PicKell. Get at me on there. Let me know what you think of Chris Ash, set to be the next DC in South Bend. For Cato on the ones and twos, and the tremendous culinary Rex for myself, Jody PicKell. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.